Welcome, everyone. And I am so thrilled today to talk to three people that I think are innovative, creative, doing something in the brokerage model that I think is long overdue and that I personally have been able to witness the success of, not just from the brokerage side, but talking to their agents. They have the most, I would say it's the coolest brokerage model. Their agents love them. They're doing something right. And I really wanted this opportunity to kind of share what are people doing out there. And the thing that they've done is they've created this kind of fun, cool vibe. It's just, most of the agents say it's just a fun, inspiring place to be. And they really focus on education and supporting their agents. So today I want to talk a little bit about where did this unique idea come from? Also, I have had the pleasure of knowing each one of these amazing leaders. Each one of them has worked with me in some capacity. In fact, Chad, you spent a year with me in a very intense managing broker coaching group that I did. It was intense and we really got into it. It was a great opportunity. And boy, I learned some really incredible things about you. And you love giving back. You love your agents. So I'm going to ask Chad some questions today, and Jennifer and Dominica. The first question I want to ask, which I think is for me, you guys have this most incredibly cool space. I love your space. It's office space, it's an event space, it's kind of a cool combination. Where did this come from? Also, your brand is unique, it's different. So, Jennifer, I'm going to start with you and ask you kind of tell us a little bit about why was Metropolist created, and where did you guys come up with this idea?
First of all, thanks, Denise, so much for having us on this call. Woo, I feel just excited that we
And you're the
got
mover
to
and
hear.
shaker. You're in your vehicle today. And by the way, thank you for joining
Sorry.
us when you are literally on the go in the field. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, we came from corporate real estate. We were a part of larger name firms, all of us, and realized that we wanted to be more nimble. We wanted to offer different things that we knew were agent specific. And so we started off with the three of us, literally opened Metropolist now 6 years ago. And there were three. And then we had one agent join us, and we just all had a party because we had one agent join us. We were so excited to have it join us. But some of the reasons for that were that we understood, because we were in the field, that there were so many brokerages that seemed to exist just because, hey, we got a big name, you should come work for us. But when it came down to, like, really, what are we paying you for again? They could not articulate it. And so we could be like, oh, we know what agents need. We know exactly what kind of support they want because we're doing it. And so we said we could do this and we could do it better. And I think we have. And Metropolis came out of that desire to work alongside other professionals and create a culture and a community that we were proud of, that we didn't just have this huge roster, like, hey, we have 200 agents here, but 10 of them make money. But that we had a people in our office that we could say to any of them, no, they're a great agent. And really wanted to focus that on training and just elevating the industry. So Metropolist was born 6 years ago.
And I remember, Jennifer, when I still remember first getting one of the first pieces of branded materials that you sent, and that you guys sent out. And I remember, it's funny how you remember where you were at that moment. And I knew that there was buzz that you guys were getting started. I was so excited because you visually articulated kind of who you are, right? And the brand was fresh, it was innovative, it was clean, it had a modern vibe to it. And for me, it just resonated quality. And I know the three of you, that's what you're about. I've worked with each of you. I know you're about that. But you guys really built this whole brand around agent care, like caring for what is it that agents need right now? What are they experiencing right now? Because I know we've talked about this in the past, and I have agents that are my clients that happen to be licensed under your care. And I know how they feel about you, and they do rave about you guys. So whenever someone's raving, I'm like, yeah, what's the dirt, right? I always want to know, come on. I haven't found it yet. I'm still always looking, but you guys are very agent centric, very, very agent focused. And one of the things you really focus on and resonates with me is education, right? So I know that. So Chad, I'm gonna give this question to Chad. You guys are really into education, mentorship, building those relationships, helping agents, not just I'm a licensed agent, but I'm a career agent and I need to make money and I need some help. And you guys believe that education is a big part of that. So where did that model come from, Chad? And how do you guys build that into how have you built it into the business? And is it helping agents?
So the short answer is yes, it helps brokers tremendously. And all three of us come from backgrounds of teaching and training. I was at the Boeing Company and Marriott training. Jennifer had training background. Dominica had mentoring and coaching background as well. So the three of us brought all of that together and created this, this fourth element that is really focused on the broker, making sure that their needs are being met, making sure that we can help them grow a little bit in things that they've identified that they want to grow in, but also us recognizing, ooh, here's a spot where we think this person can really grow, and then they take off. And all of those backgrounds, all corporate and small business, those backgrounds came together, and ultimately the brokers went out because they get that, the skill experience that we bring.
The other thing that, and I'm not saying anything negative about any other brokerage out there, because the bottom line is, this is just my personal belief. I've always believed that brokerages are about the leaders who, I don't believe all of the national brand brokerage offices are identical. I think who owns that or who runs it, I think they set the tone. And I know you guys really set the tone for excellence. The other thing that I've just been impressed with is that, I have a lot of my clients that are licensed all over the place and they have managing brokers all over the place. And oftentimes I'm getting calls that are very basic calls regarding deals and transactions. And I've got agents that have been working with me for years that are within your company and they're not calling me asking me about that. So I know from that perspective, the education side of it is really important. And I know you guys are very hands on and available. What's the process? So if I'm an agent in your company and I'm in the middle of a transaction and I'm like imploding because the deal's imploding, what's your guys' model? How do you help that agent?
Call Chad.
Yeah.
Call Chad. No.
That's a great question. Here,
I just want to interject here, Denise, that I get those phone calls from brokers at other brokerages
I still do as well.
all the time.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I hear that. And the reason I want to specifically ask you guys about that is because I get them all the time. And in October, last week of October this year, I had 22 calls all the last week of October because deals were imploding all over the place because of a new appraisal thing. And so deals were dying. I was getting calls from everyone. I didn't get a single call from a single agent from your office. So Chad, tell me about this Call Chad business. It's so cute. Call Chad. Everybody knows it.
Yeah. So as the designated broker, certainly the bottom line, rests with me, but we've created this environment of collaboration from day one. And it really works where we tell the broker, reach out to all three of us. If you haven't heard back from me within an hour, then, Jennifer or Dominica pops in. So we want to make sure that the broker can get anything answered within an hour. Because sometimes these things, well, let's be truthful. Sometimes these are true emergencies. And then other times we make them emergencies, right?
Right.
And so that collaboration piece really helped the brokers, feel like we're responding. And then candidly, the three of us have different opinions and different experiences and different viewpoints that we bring to those transactions as well, that I think all of our brokers would say, is beneficial, having a couple different viewpoints.
And I know that sometimes, like with my clients, when they call me, they need that voice. They just need to hear, just tell me what you would do. They just want a little bit of it doesn't need to take a long time, but what it does is it also teaches them to think for themselves because they learn how you think. And now, Denise, how would you handle this? You answered that a few times and before you know it, they don't need to call anymore. What happens though often is that an agent doesn't have someone to call and they get into this transaction panic mode. And by the way, if an agent, and I know you guys listening know this, if you've ever had a transaction and your managing broker has not been there for you, you will sit there, you will spiral and think of everything. I'm going to get sued. I'm going to lose my license. What am I going to be doing next? Now I'm out of real estate. Oh, plus I probably lost my house because they sued me and I forgot to get that special umbrella policy. Oh, my life's over. And the spiraling that agents do is epic. And what I've always loved and admired is I want a buck stops here kind of managing broker. I want someone that I can call, just give me help me through this. And I think what you've done is you've fostered that in your company where it also builds trust, right? Because where do people go? I know even in my own life, if I've got something, and my rule of thumb, I always tell my clients is if you are on a cliff, I say this all the time, if you're hanging off a cliff, don't think, oh, Denise is too busy. Pick up the phone and phone me. And that 30-second phone call can make a difference. So I just want to say I love the call Chad. I love not just are we calling Chad, but we got Jennifer and Dominica backing up. That's a really, that's just such a lifeline for agents. And you probably don't even know how many agents that you have literally helped them de-stress. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about this cool thing you guys have called the Learning Lab. And Jennifer, I know that you're very passionate about the Learning Lab. You guys have a beautiful space for the Learning Lab. I was lucky enough, I've taught at the Learning Lab. It's a really cool, beautiful, beautiful space. So can you tell us, where did the concept of the Learning Lab come from? How does it work? And also, you guys have taught a lot of agents. This is what I think is really cool. You invite agents that are not even part of your company to come to the Learning Lab. You guys are just like spreading the love and the education. That is so rare. This giving back mentality, it's so rare. I love what you're doing. So Jennifer, tell me a little bit about this Learning Lab. What a cool concept.
Absolutely. Whenever you say the Learning Lab and passion, I just want to like go like this, like some kind of peace sign or something.
Yeah,
like,
okay,
yes,
let's
because
do it.
it's definitely where my heart lies. I will say, when we were looking at spaces, when we started Metropolist, one of our goals for sure, one of our priorities was to pick a space that we could have a Learning Lab in. And that is to say, we want to hold clock hour classes for our agents. And now we hold them for anybody to come to elevate the industry. That's one of our main goals as a brokerage, is to say, we want everyone to do this better, not just Metropolist agents. So when we were picking a space, we picked a space that could hold our classes, that could hold client events. And I don't know, Denise, you've been in a lot of brokerages, and I would have to say, I think you can agree with me, they're ugly. They're, they've got lights that make your skin look green, and that low ceilings, and you think, who decided to rent this place? So we wanted to stand out in that way because we wanted to work in a beautiful place, and we accomplished that. Metropolist is a really beautiful, cool warehouse in Soto, downtown Seattle, and it accomplishes a lot of those goals. But back to the Learning Lab. With the idea of elevating the industry, we said there just can't be the boring clock hour classes that we all have endured. And so with my background in education, I have a master's in education, and I've taught at universities, and I love to teach, and I love to make it fun and engaging, and I think I'm decent at it. And I love to bring in other speakers. And with that in mind, it's relevant. So unlike your clock hour classes for your renewal that you're talking about meets and bounds and I don't know, whatever else that you never use ever in your career, we really try to make this about what's happening right now in the industry and how are you prepared and taking care of it. And cross-pollination is a word we use all the time, which means, oh my gosh, if we just hear from Metropolist agents, we're all going to poke our eyes out. We love our family, but dear God, can we please have some new voices come in? And so we often have brokers from many other firms joining us for our clock hour classes.
Well, the other thing that I really love about what you're doing is that there's life in your office, right? There's definitely an energy there. People need energy. A couple of years ago, Sean and I did this very interesting, I thought it was a great idea. It's one of my worst ideas ever. Sean and I still laugh about it. I was like, oh, Sean, this is the greatest idea. Well, and what I decided to do is that it was the holidays. Sean and I got in our little vehicle. She was driving, and we were going to deliver gifts or whatever and happy ho-hos to all my clients. So we leave from Bellingham, Washington. We drive 2.5 hours, and we've got like a lot of office, something like 40 offices we're going to hit, right? Just of people from here down to as far as we could drive. And I would say within the first hour, I went from happy ho-ho to I'm depressed. Every office we walked into, we couldn't find anybody there. It felt depressing. It was sad. I was really, I was shocked. I came back from that saying to Shauna, I am so mad right now, so horrified at any managing broker that is allowing their office to die. And by the way, where is the managing broker? And I asked at every office, oh, where's your managing broker? I don't know. He or she's not here. When do they come in? I don't know. It wasn't like managing broker is out, they're here, they're just on an appointment. It was almost like, and I'm not down talking anybody else. I'm just saying that for me, what I loved when I walked into Metropolist is there's this vibe. And I will say that that whole giving back, learning, that's a big part of that vibe. Also, I have been lucky enough. I was at a Halloween event at Metropolist that one of my clients was doing a cancer event for. Jay Aguado did his event there. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun. Beautiful, beautiful space, right? So the thing is that the other message that I think you're giving your agents, which is so crucial right now, is that we're here, we're available, and we want you to communicate. So I do think that that's so awesome right now. Now, I know that you guys are also big on let's help build your business, right? How can you get better? Bring out the best in you, that kind of attitude. So, Dominica, I want to address this question kind of your way. I know you really love that. That's something that you're passionate about. Can you kind of give some advice about if you're talking to an agent today, what advice do you have for them to actually build their business? Well, what should they be doing?
It's a great question. First, Denise, I want to thank you also and say that you know that I am the marketing and branding nerd and police around here. And it just warms my heart every time I hear you talk about our brand.
I love it.
It's my baby and it just feels so good. So thank you. And that's a big basis of how I think it's effective to build a business. But I would say the absolute number one thing that I see people come through our doors, whether it's our brokers when they join or people coming through classes, whether they're brand new in the business or 20 years in the business, is database. Having, creating, collating, putting together your database, and then actually learning how to do it, learning how to activate it. So that's the biggest thing. And there are tons of brokers out there who have plenty of years in the business who have never bothered to do that and are flying by the seat of their pants. And that is by far, I think, the foundation of any business that's going to bring you regular business without you having to, go hunting every single day, is database. So once we get that going, after that, it's about systems and it's about auto flow. So having marketing systems that look good, that are efficient and effective, that are not just postcards of, recipes or whatever, that give people real relevant information that improves their ability to function in their building their wealth and their home is incredibly important. And for brokers, if we have to physically do that every month, if you're not a broker with a full-time assistant or a brokerage like ours that does a lot of that for you, you're going to be working on that and not doing business. And then when you get busy, of course, you're not going to be doing it at all because we're too busy dealing with our clients. And then 3 months later, lo and behold, we don't have any business. So to help eliminate that kind of peak and trough situation that we've all experienced, I think auto flow is incredibly important. So having those systems of mailers or MailChimps, we do things like a twice monthly MailChimp out to our brokers' clients for them in their branding if they have their own, or in beautiful Metropolist branding that all looks the same if they don't. And then you get down to things like building your own brand and stuff like that. But I think foundationally, having a clear understanding of who your people are and fostering those relationships in a way that's systematic and intentional makes you have the time and bandwidth to be really authentic with your people. So,
and I loved what you said about, it's about this whole idea of database and auto flow. And it's so important because you're right. I have met many agents that have come to me and said, hey, coach me. I want to make more money. Let's start a geographical farm. And I'll say to them, well, wait a minute. How long you been in the business? Oh, 18 years. Well, don't you have a database? Yeah. But you know what? I've neglected them. So let's start fresh. No, that's a gold mine there. And learning to do that. The other thing I love about what you guys do is doing this, some of this stuff for the agents. Cause quite frankly, agents need to be out selling real estate, which I think is, that's a really super component. The other thing is that I always tell people follow leaders who lead by example, right? So this fact that you guys do actually really do this, you're not just up on a soapbox, you need to do this, you need to do that. You guys are active and you're involved and you're, you know, agents want that. They want to feel supported, they want to feel part of something. And you definitely, Metropolist is definitely a part of something. There's something going on there. And we can dissect it all day long, but it's working for your agents. And that's all I care about is if I'm talking to an agent, because I have agents call me every week that will be like, I'm thinking about changing brokerages. Why? I always tell agents as well. The first thing I say to them is, before you go thinking about leaving your brokerage, is it you or is it the brokerage? And they'll say things like, yeah, well, I'm not making any money. And that's not you. That's not about the brokerage. That's about you. Now, if they say to me, well, yeah, I just had a $2 million transaction go sideways and my managing broker wouldn't return my phone calls for 3 days because he or she was busy, that's a different conversation. But the point is that there's something that's working and it's good to look at that. And when you've got the education, you got all these things happening, that's pretty compelling for agents right now. It's also, quite honestly, because of COVID, this past year has been very difficult for agents, and having to support agents through that has been, I think, very difficult. And you guys have worked really hard to do that. The three of you, what an interesting combination. You each have, listening to you, you've got different, unique, specialized talent, right? So, how do you take your talent and then utilize that for agents? So, if I came to Metropolis and I said, so what, Chad? Tell me what it is about you that's going to help me, or Dominica or Jennifer, what would you answer? So, Chad, I'm going to start with you. So, you've got a pretty unique talent, talent and skill set. How does that help your agents? Other than answering their amazing and difficult questions and transactions, I know there's so much more you do, but I would just love to hear you articulate that.
I think, Denise, that the main thing that my job is to do is to make sure the broker's getting plugged into the stuff that we offer, right? I'm going to call that the broker dashboard. Yeah. I want to make sure that dashboard is optimized for the broker. And so, you know, the contracts and skills class that we offer, the Tuesday broker meeting, as you know, my broker meetings are not just about me sharing, you know, disciplinary things from the MLS. It's about I need to take my skills and experiences and help brokers grow their business. So making sure they're plugged into the Tuesday meeting and that they're engaged, making sure that they're showing up to Jennifer's class on Wednesday, which is the production courses. So taking all of our offerings and making sure brokers are getting plugged into each of those, I'd say that that's probably my number one job. And I suppose, you know, my unique offering, for lack of a better word, to brokers would just be that I'll help them. I'll see things. I'll step back from the situation. I'm not in the situation, so I can give super objective advice.
Yes, that's awesome. That's great. Jennifer.
You know, I was just thinking as Chad was talking, sorry, Chad, I don't even have any idea what you just said because I was trying to think of my answer, but I'm sure it was great. I will say this, that I think that the production meeting that I do on Wednesdays is one of my favorite. And here's why. I think I've thought about this. I show up as authentically as I can. And so I'm in the business with them. And so I'll show up and say, I freaking hate real estate today. I don't want to do any of this.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I think there's a vulnerability and sort of an authenticity that comes with me to the brokerage and says, let's do this together. Let's figure out how to motivate one another. We are a nimble and small enough firm. And even as we grow, we're so careful about our culture that we want people that are invested in what we're doing and invested in showing up as good humans and in being real. And so I bring that. And then I would say the teaching part is just, it just sort of comes out of me. It's a real natural thing for me to teach. But I love to be in a room where you've got the guy in the corner that's on his cell phone, right? He is there literally just to check the box, get the clock hours. And I'm like, no, 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 not in my classroom, dude. And really, it's my goal throughout the next 3 hours, if I'm in person, to get him to put his phone down, and I'll call on him. I will get that guy engaged. And I remember one class where we had this guy and he was such a naysayer. Chad, I don't know, in Dominic, I don't know if you remember this, but he was a piece of work, right? And I felt so accomplished at the end of that class, just to be like, okay, as long as you're here, if you're present and we're all learning together, we're all going to benefit from it. So yeah, I used to be a disciplinarian. I used to be the dean of students at a high school. So watch out if you come to my class, because I'm all about the bad kid. Bring the bad kid on. No, but really just teaching in general, trying to get people engaged in the subject matter, trying to get them to step up and say, here's what I'm good at. Here's not what I'm good at. What could I use education on? So,
and because I'm also a fellow, teacher and I love education, I've had that similar experience. And there's also that vulnerable side that when people see it, and I've been teaching classes and a student has done something, or one of my clients has done something so amazing, or maybe they've been doing a presentation. I've sat back and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a before and after from a year ago. And I've literally been in class crying and could not talk, or I'd have to talk through it. And I remember one time doing that, and one of the agents in class, she called me after, she emailed me, and then we set up a call. She called me and she said, I've never seen you cry. And she said, I was in the back of the room, Denise. She said, I don't think I could talk for an hour. I had such a lump in my throat, but she learned from watching the vulnerability. So that's awesome. Okay, Dominica. So for you, your little individual talent, how does that help agents?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that one of the gifts I bring is that I'm a night owl. So everybody in our company knows that if it's after about 8 p.m.
You're the night owl girl.
The night owl. You can't reach chat after 8. Well, that's such an interesting question. For sure, I am incredibly detail oriented. So whether that comes to being a marketing and branding nerd, I can look at a marketing piece and within seconds identify what needs to change about it. Yeah. That's true of contracts too, kind of a contract nerd. So I'm really strong in that arena. People call me for that a lot. Ultimately, kind of 30,000 foot view, I would say that I'm a refiner, and I am somebody who can boil down, whether it's a transaction story in question, or a bigger picture marketing, plan, or a system, or an auto flow, any type of coaching in those areas that people need. I can boil it down really quickly to exactly what needs to happen, and be really clear in communicating what the next steps are for somebody to be successful, whether it's making a new affirmation, or building a piece for their, to send to their database, or handling some complex situation. Brokers, we all make things more complex than maybe they really are, until we get somebody on the outside to look at it and go, oh, here are the 3 things you need to do. Don't say any of that. Don't put any of that in it. Just do this, spin them around, push them back off again. And I know that people find that really helpful. And it's true that it's not just our brokers. I do get calls very frequently from brokers in other offices that are needing that kind of help and feel comfortable to call me to do that. So,
which what a nice testament to you to have that. So I want to ask you guys 3 questions, quick round robin questions, just 1 or 2 or 3 words. Okay, first question is, what is the number 1 piece of advice you would give an agent in this market right now? Okay, I'm going to start with Chad.
I'm going to focus in on pop buys, figuring out some little gift, a card, a note, and getting yourself out of the house and just dropping something off at people's porches.
Connection, even if you don't see them, just drop it off. Connection. Yep. Okay, I love it. Okay, Dominica?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say social media and consistent auto flow. Absolutely.
Okay, I love it. Okay, Jennifer?
I'm going to say connection, but in a different way. I've been doing video text messages to my clients, And
Love them.
every single time I get a response. So it's not written word, it's not an email, it's not a text message, it's my face. And I might have just gotten up and have, cup of coffee and my hair looks like whatever it looks like. And I'm just saying, hey, morning, I'm thinking of you. I hope you have a good day at home, going from your living room to your kitchen back and forth in this pandemic. But just connect with people with your face.
Yeah, I think connection is great advice. Okay. Favorite vacation spot, Chad?
Oh dear, I'm gonna say Mexico for right now.
Okay. Dominica?
Anywhere but Seattle.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. You're going to be easy to please. Jennifer?
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Love that area. Okay. Next question. What do you attribute the success of Metropolist to? Chad?
I'm gonna focus in, and Jennifer and Dominica are probably going to hate me for stealing this. I'm going to focus in on the event space. The event space at Metropolist, that factory was designed to engage brokers and their sphere, their database, in an entirely different way. That's our secret sauce to our business model. So I'm going to say it's the event space and hosting the events that we hold for the brokers and having the brokers use that space for their sphere.
Okay, great. Dominica?
I'm going to say culture. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say specifically that the three of us don't let anyone in that we don't want to hang out with. And
Yeah.
it's beautifully.
That's awesome. Jennifer?
Authenticity and being humble. I honestly think that when we started this, we had a little grit and we kind of thought, here we go. But boy, when you start off a new company, you get a dose of humble right away.
Yeah.
And as we are growing in age and also experience, it's just more and more of that. We have a lot to give, but we have a lot to learn.
I love it. You guys are awesome. Okay, final question. What is the biggest time waster you think agents are doing right now that they need to stop doing? Biggest time waster. Okay, Chad.
Netflixing.
Okay, I love it. Dominica.
Oh, that was the best one. I'm going to say doing things that your brokerage should be doing for you.
Oh, that's a good one. Jennifer.
I'm going to say buying leads or trying to think you can skirt the process and trying to figure out that you can make a bunch of money and believing anyone who tells you that without the hard work.
Yes, and just pulling out a Visa or MasterCard or American Express. You guys, I can't even believe I could talk to you guys for hours. Such a great, great, great conversation today, but we're out of time. So first of all, I want to thank you for how you elevate the industry. I want to thank you for all the agents that you lead, because when you lead by example, what you're doing is you are creating a mini version of yourself. So our industry needs more great leaders. It needs more great leadership. So great leaders help to cultivate other leaders. So I'm thrilled to know you. I'm thrilled to have had an opportunity over the years to watch this incredible journey of yours. I still remember where I was the moment I saw the brand. And I still, to this day, I talk about your brand all the time because I think you've done a great job. So you guys, thank you so much. And until we meet again.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay,
Thank
guys.
you so much for having us.
Okay, take care.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.